Oh, welcome everybody. We're just running a little bit late because Jocelyn is just having a few Wi-Fi glitches, but she will be here with us on this amazing call. My name is Kathleen, and I am here representing the Academy of the Wild Soul, a global school for quantum evolution, with our incredible teacher, Dr. Tayria Ward, and our other multi-galactic course managing sister, Ami. And we are so delighted to be here today. And please may you put where you're from in the chat so we can gain a global picture where everybody is coming in from, tuning in from today. And then I will pass it over to Dr. Tayria Ward, who will be presenting the Considering Our Origins in Consciousness webinar, which we are also honored and excited to receive. So, yeah, good morning from Illinois, from Vermont, from the Scottish Highlands, from Indiana, Stockholm, Sweden, Brazil. Oh my goodness. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Tayria Ward now, and please enjoy.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathleen and Ami and dear Jocelyn. And let's all send a little prayer to Jocelyn. Her Wi-Fi just was gone crazy. So she's hoping to be on with us very shortly. So let's all just send some good angels to our dear Jocelyn and her little Wi-Fi. So you didn't read my bio. Do we need that or yeah, maybe we need that. Yeah. Thank you, Kathleen.
We do need your bio. I'm going to read that right now. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, sure.
So after completing a doctorate in depth psychology, Tayria was called out of Los Angeles, where she had lived, worked, and raised a family for 30 years, to go on a quest deep into the remote mountains of Western North Carolina. There, Tayria lived alone on a mountaintop for 9 years. Dr. Tayria Ward now lives in Asheville, North Carolina, where she has a private practice offering dream analysis, psychological and spiritual guidance to clients from all parts of the world. Tayria has worked intensively with her own and other people's dreams for almost 50 years, and for nearly 30 years has been an avid student of indigenous ways of knowing and being. And she conducts monthly global community dream symposiums where in-persons share their dreams and listen to the collective dreaming mind.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thank you, and welcome everyone. I'm just so happy to know that we're here together, and I am really pleased for the opportunity and the invitation to share this the screen just changed. I'm sorry. I don't know how. I think you've got me, but anyway. So I think our technology is giving us a little bit of a kick in the behind, but we're going to get through it. It's so funny because what I'm going to talk about has, it goes so far beyond our technology mind. But anyway, I am so excited for the invitation to share this subject that has been so deeply, powerfully moving and meaningful to me for decades. And I called it Considering Our Origins in Consciousness. And I'll tell more about this as we go. But just to start out, to say that the ability that we have as humans to communicate with absolutely everything on planet Earth, whether it's rock or tree or plant or water or air or bird or whatever it is, our ability to communicate with all that is created in matter and in spirit, in the invisible and the visible realm, is our original psychic endowment. This is genetically coded into each one of us. And at the cellular level, this is patterned into us. The capacity to be in this constant conversation is our birthright. It is our gift. And it is indigenous to every human. And so I want to explain what I mean by indigenous. What I mean by indigenous is the ancestors that every one of us have, no matter what culture you've been raised in, no matter what your practices and religions are, no matter what color your skin is, no matter who you are, every one of us as humans have indigenous ancestors that lived for 98% of human history, knowing that we have these capacities and exercising these capacities as if it's as easy and comfortable as breathing. We have all known this for 98% of our history. It's only in the most like 0.1% of human history that we have lost this capacity. And I'm going to be talking about that more, but our origins in consciousness are that we have these capacities, and clearly the old ways are breaking down, and it is time for us to remember who we are at the very deepest origins of our consciousness. And consciousness itself is just kind of what we're going to explore today. So we're going to go into sort of the original terrains of mind, what Thomas Berry, some of you may know him, and if you don't, I highly recommend that you introduce yourself to Thomas Berry and his writings. But he called it the great conversation that's going on in with all elements of matter and spirit. And he said, sadly, which is something I think that we need to consider, like almost every day, that the human over the last many centuries has become autistic, that we no longer are talking to anything but ourselves, to each other, and that's it. It's like we prioritize human conversation, we prioritize human values, we prioritize humans' rights, and everything that's good for the human is what we do. The rest of it is very, very, very far down the list of values for the general population. And this is a result of the just sort of the readjustment of our thinking over the last many centuries, and what Levi-Strauss called the domestication of the human mind. We have domesticated the human mind, and this has led us into a collective pathology. I mean, it's like that we are disconnected from reality, and it's pathological. And all of us are part of this, and all of us need treatment, and all of us can do this if we recognize what it is that we need to do. So today I just kind of want to go on a walkabout. I've always loved the Aboriginal idea of sending someone who's transitioning into adulthood on a walkabout, where they just are in touch with absolute raw nature. They don't have mama, they don't have papa, they don't have anything but themselves and maybe a tool or two to survive for some period of time and get to know what we're part of and who we are and what we can do. So let's go on a walkabout now in the terrains of consciousness around this, and see if we can just shake ourselves awake a little bit, and recognize that what we're leaving behind as we walk away from this is the power structures that are social and economic, that have been at the top of the concern for humans for all these centuries. And to recognize that, as earlier people did, they saw and they heard the more than human world. They could hear it, literally could hear it. And I have heard it. And I'll tell more about my own journey with that. And I am guessing that many of you who are here know exactly what I'm talking about and have had these experiences. And I just want us to hold our hearts together with this. I love the story of Jeremy Narby and the Cosmic Serpent, saying that he went down to he was working for a pharmaceutical company and wanted to find out about the medicines in the plants in the rainforest. So he went down deep into the rainforest and talked to the people there who understood the medicines of the plant world. And they were telling him all the different information that they had about that. This is good for lungs, this is good for kidneys, this is good for your kidneys, but for that person's brain, it's like every plant isn't the same for everybody either. And they were able to know that, and pass that information to him. And he said, well, is this all written? Where is this written down? Where can we find this? And they looked at him like they didn't understand what he was asking. And they said, the plants tell us. They were listening to the plants. The plants tell us. And I always love that. It's like, let's readjust, how we educate ourselves in that way. And I also think of this story told by the poet David Wagner in a poem called The Silence of the Stars. He talks about Lawrence Vanderpost when he was with the Bushmen in Africa, how he was sitting around the fire and they were talking about hearing the stars singing. And Lawrence Vanderpost said, you can hear the stars singing? And they were all kind of surprised again and like, of course, you can't hear them? And he said, no, I can't hear them. And so they led him away from the crackling fire and out where they were a distance. And they said, you can't hear them now? And he said, no, I can't hear them. And they took him back. And David Wagner in this poem, Silence of the Stars, you should look for it, says that they grieved for him that he'd lost his hearing. And he grieved for himself and his ancestors, that we have all lost our hearing in that way. And it makes me cry sometimes. There's a historian named Paul Vane who says, when one does not see what one does not see, one does not even see that one is blind. And I would translate that as well to when one does not hear what one does not hear, one does not even hear that one is deaf. One does not know that. So this is like to recognize if we can't hear the stars and talk to the plants, we are deaf. And the things that they could see in terms of all the other dimensional beings, and we can go into it, but the fairies and the elves and the spirits and the angels and on the ancestors and that which lives around all of us, that was visible to them. We've lost this. I'm going to talk more about what I think happened there in a minute, but I want to share before I go into this dream. I had this dream probably 30 some years ago. My kids were little. I remember exactly waking up that morning, what house I lived in La Crescenta, California, and got up with this dream. And in the dream, I was told, you have to listen to the space between heartbeats. And so in the dream, my heart beat, and it was like the strong beat of a drum. And the drum beat, that was my heartbeat. And then after that, it's like I floated way out into the cosmos. I was one with absolutely everything that is. And that was who I was, and that was where I was. And it was all familiar. It was all part of me. And I was surrounded by consciousness and unconditional love. And then the heartbeat, boom, the drum. And I was back in my body in La Crescenta, in my bed. And then I went out, and this happened, breathing in and out of the heartbeat, being back in my body happened for, several times. And I was starting to get upset. It's like, I don't want to come back. I was mad at the heartbeat that I was coming back. And then the message of the dream was, it's all in the dance. You just have to listen to the space between heartbeats. And then you can do the dance that the heartbeat is bringing you into. And that dream has stayed with me all this time. And I feel like this consciousness, this indigenous consciousness, this original consciousness is is available between every beat of our heart, between every breath. And we have forgotten that. We're only focusing on the heartbeat and what we need as humans in matter, and not focusing on everything else that surrounds us. I think of a beautiful statement from the Gospel of Thomas that I have always loved, where he says, the kingdom of God is spread out upon the earth, but people don't see it. And I think that's the space between heartbeats, and that's what he was referring to. It's like it's here, it's everywhere, it's here now. It's not some future time that we're going to get there or get this consciousness, or after we die we'll get that consciousness. It's now, it's available now. We have to know this. We've always known this until just 1% of human history, 1.1% of human history, have we forgotten this. And it's time to reclaim it and recover it now, because obviously we're making a mess of things without this awareness. I wanted to say the ankh that I wear almost every day. Somebody asked me why I wear it, and so I thought, okay, well, let me answer that question for myself. The ankh is a symbol of eternal life, and to me, it's like I always want to remember that eternal life is here now. It's not something later. It's not something that's unavailable. It's not something not to know. It's something available and knowable now. And so I wear the ankh, and it just keeps me in this consciousness of the space between heartbeats. And I also think of Joni Mitchell's song, we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. We are golden. We are stardust. And the garden, you know, that everybody says, oh, humans fell, our consciousness fell because we left the garden. Well, leaving the garden is going into the modern industrial mind. The garden is still here. It's still right now. We can still be there. It is here. We are in it. We're just deaf and blind to it. So we have to wake ourselves up, and we can do this. We're a very resourceful species, and I don't think we need to spend any time worrying about how we're going to get there. We just got to get there, and we can do it. I'm going to tell really quickly this shamanic journey that I had. A friend had asked me to come out and bless this land that she had bought that's about an hour or so outside of Asheville. And so we're doing a little ceremony, and we did a shamanic journey to bless the land. And I was very surprised. I went immediately in that shamanic journey to earth before humans were here, before even organic life was here. It was like I went back, and I was there. I was there in the earth before any organic life was here. The earth was teeming with energy and full of spirit. It's just that matter wasn't forming yet, but it was so full of life and intelligence and consciousness and creativity. And when you think of the creative nature of the earth, how it brought all of us forth, all of the plants and trees and birds and flowers and zebras and elephants and dogs and everything else, all of that was in, like, the earth was teeming with this creativity that was then ready to burst forth. And I went there, and I realized I am part of this. This is the origin and consciousness. And if I connect to that, that creativity is in me. It's coded, it's blueprinted into me too, because I am part of that. And I'll go a little further with this in terms of talking about I'm also part of the stars, and I have so many stories to tell, but I'll just say briefly an experience I had where I just went into a memory. Sometimes I just step into this other dimension, and I remembered being on Pleiades and talking to my sisters and saying, we're going to go to Earth. We're going to do this Earth experience. And so here we are, and we're doing it. But from that, it was like remembering dinner I had last night with some friends. It was such a clear memory. there weren't bodies and matter. It was like consciousness that we were sharing, but I was with my sisters in the Pleiades, and we made this decision. And I've had other star things that I could say, but I won't right now. But I want to share this, that in Buckminster Fuller, who is a great teacher of mine, who I knew personally, started, learning from him at the early age, early teenage years. This is in his writings that I ran into, which I think is very interesting. He says, it seems more likely that the inanimate structural pattern integrity, which we call human being, was a frequency modulated code message beamed at the earth from remote location. Man as prime organizing principle. Construct pattern integrity was radiated here from the stars, not as a primal cell, but as a fully articulated high order being. So the idea that we were radiated here from the stars, this is our origins in consciousness too. We come from these origins, and we can reclaim these origins, and they are available to us. And I love how he says it's not as a primal cell, but as a fully articulated high order being. And I felt like that's the beingness that I was in when I was on the earth in this shamanic journey. Even before matter was here, I was here as a fully articulated being. Okay, so what happened to us as humans? And, there's so much to be said about this, and so many brilliant books about this. And I have bibliographies if anybody wants to that information from me, which I'll be sharing at some point anyway. But how did we become so forgetful? And I studied the theories of the physicist David Bohm. He's known as the father of quantum physics. And I studied and actually taught at the college level the theories of David Bohm. And his main concern at the end of his life of physics was about how to articulate for the average human to understand what the nature of thought is. He says thought creates the world and then hides and says it didn't do it. So it's how we think that creates our world. So now that we're thinking that humans are superior, humans are more important, only us have value, that thinking has created this world that has shut out everything else. Carl Jung talks quite a bit about this modern mode of thinking, which he says is a complete readjustment of the human mind, and it's only very recent, only in the last few hundred years. And he called it directed thinking. And for him, directed thinking is like technological thinking, which also Heidegger called it technological thinking. It's how to get something done. It's the ABC of getting something done. And this style of thinking that creates words and creates all the things that we do in our sort of daily life is all directed thinking. It's to produce product, basically. He said this readjustment of the human mind has created all our problems. As I said, I think I got it wrong. It was Levi Strauss, I think, that called it domesticated mind. And Brian Swim calls it the modern industrial mind. So for us to recognize that this mind that we inhabit most of the time, except for when we're asleep, thank God, in dreams, we're not as much in that state of consciousness. And when we go into reveries or muses or memories or sometimes meditation, we're not as enslaved to that style of thinking. But that style of thinking leaves out all of this other conversation that if we were back in touch with, we wouldn't have created not only the climate crisis that we're in, but every other crisis you can think of. And there are so many of them, the wars, the only me and not you, the conquering, and the ways that we have gone after indigenous people and taken them out of their land and educated them in our schools and made them forget their language, so that their style of being and thinking is no longer available to them, is because it's threatening basically to our structures, our power structures, our economic structures, our social structures. They're training that out of them. That's what we've done to our mind. We have taken our mind out of its indigenous context and um, trained it out of us, just like the indigenous people, the indigenous mind. There's a philosopher called F.E. Krantz. He says, modern thought is different from and alien to all previous thought. And there is nothing normative or even normal about it or us. The modern mind cannot comprehend, these bigger realities. Okay, so I want to show you. Maybe I'll wait a minute. Y'all be patient with me. I'm using share screen. I am such a Luddite when it comes to technology that this is going to be new for me. So I have some slides. I was going to show you one and then go back, but maybe I'll just show them all at once. So let me just say the things I want to do before I go to the slides. I just want to tell you that as we emerge from this era of forgetting, we can unite with that creativity of the earth, the way it just manifested all the fabulous creation that we are participating in. And when you look at even just the human body, oh my gosh, how it's structured and all the different organs and all the different everything, and then everything else. That creativity is part of who we are. So we can get really creative with this now. I think I can go now to sharing screen. And Jocelyn, hello.
Hi, I'm here.
I'm so glad you're here. Is that before I go to the screen, is the good moment? Do you want to share anything with us before we go?
Well, I do. So everybody, I was not able to be on at the beginning because my Wi-Fi went out when we were just about to go live. So hello, everybody, and welcome. And so glad you're here as part of the Sacred Planet community and now the Global School for Quantum Evolution community here. So welcome, everyone. And I just want to say, I'm sure Kathleen gave an amazing, beautiful introduction. I just want to add, Tayria is absolutely one of my very, very dearest friends. And I am so excited for her to be bringing this information here today. And Tayria and I have had so many long talks and ceremonial moments on her front porch and in her living room, talking about themes like this. And this is just such a huge body of work that Tayria is bringing to the world through this this cultivation of reviving our indigenous sensibilities. So Tayria, thank you for all that you do. And I'm so excited to be on live with you and have you bringing this information forward today.
Well, don't make me cry. If I started talking about how much I admire what you're doing and your work in the world and your invitation to do this, and the world that you're creating through just bringing out the treasures of all this available consciousness. And like I said, this was all like sitting in drawers dusty, all the things that I've been doing, and you just make the invitation and make it happen. And that's what you're doing to hundreds and hundreds of people, and we're shaking each other awake, and your part in this is just angelic. So
yes, we are all doing this together, and it's amazing. Well, I know you want to share your screen, so I'm here to help if you need help with screen share or anything like that. But I know
thank you.
I know you'll be good.
I love all the little hearts be coming up because everybody knows how much we love each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I could cry in a second when I think about it. All right, so this is Tayria figuring out screen share. So
yay.
now I reduce this, right?
Yeah. Yep. Is this one of your beautiful images with the roots?
Yes, this
Okay.
image I found in a botanical thing, just some botanical thing I was reading online. And I thought, okay, so this is a little tough, the kind of thing we might just step on as we walk across the grass. This is a little tough. This is an actual botanical drawing. This is true. So when you look at this little tuft here, if you think of this as everything that is and us as humans, look at the deep roots. We don't even know those deep roots are there. We may rip it up and see one of these up here. We don't know how deep our roots go. And so to me, I keep this on my altar because it's just a reminder of how deep our roots go into earth, into time, into space, into the back to the stars, all of it. It's like, this is how deeply rooted we are. And I just want to tell this story. When I was getting my doctorate, I was having some of these realizations. It was so wonderful. And I remember sitting in a classroom one long afternoon of, we would go sometimes 9 hours at a time. And I looked at all the potted plants. This is before I'd ever seen this or worked with this. This was probably part of why this was so moving to me. But I looked at all the potted plants and I started going insane. It's like those plants have been taken out of the earth. They don't want to be in this little pot. They want to have their roots in the earth. They want to be like with their brothers and sisters. And I got so upset. And then I was looking at the cut flowers and I was getting that. It was just bizarre. It was wild. And I have potted plants here. I'm sorry, buddy. But, it was like I was having this massive experience of just grieving and being angry at that. And then I started realizing that's who we are. We have been repotted. It's like our indigenous roots, our roots in consciousness have been taken out and repotted into the modern industrial mind. And that's where we live. Our roots aren't in what is our birthright. Our roots are in these pots. And that's where we've been for several hundred years, maybe even a few thousand. We've been rooted in these, and we're just these little potted plants. And it's time for us to put our roots back where they belong. And now I'm getting all angry again. It's amazing. So, okay. So I wanted to tell a little bit about my personal story. I know we only have a few minutes, but I'll go through it kind of quickly because I know we have other things we're moving on to. But okay, so after many years and living in California, getting my PhD there, had a terrible, tragic thing in my life, had a nervous breakdown, began to work with shamans, had a couple of very meaningful journeys to Africa that were soul retrievals for me, worked with shamans from Africa, central Mexico, and Canada, and all over, went on various vision quests. I was teaching this that I'm talking about here to students in the Los Angeles and Santa Barbara area, who were coming into the classroom off the freeway with their cell phone in their pocket, and they were listening to this for a few minutes and then going back into, the madness of the modern industrial creation, that we all have to live in and survive. But I just finally realized, and it's a good story, but that there wasn't integrity with what I was doing. And I got called into the mountains of Western North Carolina, and I took the call. I accepted the invitation and I moved, and this is my little house. You see this little house there? I lived there for 9 years, entirely alone in the midst of all these mountains. If you could see all the way down, there's mountains as far as the eye can see. And I was in this little space and I lived there alone. I had retreats, so I had people with me in the retreat space for 3 or 4 days, about 4-day retreats, every third month or so. Other than that, I lived alone in the wilderness. And that is just such a misnomer. I was not alone. I was never so unalone. I was here in the midst of all of this and the stories I could tell and the states of mind that I went to. And I can talk more and more about that sometime, but uh, it's just phenomenal when you let go of, I didn't have a cell phone out there. There was no, I did have Wi-Fi, thank goodness. So I was able to stay in touch and teach and write a blog and do all these things while I was out there. But basically, I don't know how many humans have lived alone for as long as I have in the wilderness. It's a long time. Walden Pond, he was there for 3 months. Or maybe I'm got that wrong. Maybe it's 3 years. I'm not sure, but it's 3 years or 3 months. And I'm sorry if I might be misstating that. But I think it was 3 months actually, but anyway, I can look that up. But 9 years, I was getting to the place where my daughter said, no, Mom, you're going to have to move back into a town where you can go to restaurants and movies and meet people. And so I did. But I have stories to tell. There's a lot of stories to tell from this era, but it felt to me like I was so serious about getting back out of the potted plant stage into the roots of my being, and that doing that for all of us, just remembering who we are on this earth. So that's where I lived. This was my first day there. My daughter and her friend, we all drove out together. And this was my very first day there. And I think of this as iconic. My daughter took this picture, and this is me walking into my next 9 years of life and my next state of consciousness. So that's me walking down. This is just a photo that I took at dusk on my walk. This is where I lived. That's where I was. I could walk out. This was 10 minutes from a 10-minute walk from my house that I took this photo. This is a sacred fire that we had. I learned from the Huichol, the beautiful ritual of making sacred fire. And I would use that at my retreats. These are people that at my retreat. I wanted to point this out too, as I looked at this, these little orbs. There are orbs here. And I would find those out on the mountain too. So we were surrounded by intelligences and presences that were quite available and visible even there. These showed up on film, but this one showed up to the naked eye, and I got it on film. So, there was more going on there than just matter. So, and I have stories about all that too. This is a full moon. I just wanted to say that other picture was, looks like the full moon, but here's the difference. That's not the full moon. That's an orb. This is a full moon. And this I was taken from my porch. Certainly I zoomed in, but this was taken from my porch. This is the kind of moon that I had that was able to enjoy at night. The winters there, I have stories to tell. I have stories to tell. One winter I was 3 weeks alone with snow all the way up to the windows, no telephone, no Wi-Fi, no heat, no water, melting snow on my wood stove so that I could cook and bathe, and keeping the fire going, and 3 weeks. And the states of mind that I went to in those 3 weeks, there's a lot of stories to tell. And here is my sleeping porch, and I'll just stop with this. I slept out here every night, and you can see there's screens all the way around from where I'm looking to. And so the wind and the stars and the owls and the bears would come up, sniff around, the coyotes. I'd wake up at night and see the moon and see the constellations going across the sky. I was in it, steeped in it all night long, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours every night. It was profound. So I just want to say, why do we need to, I guess I can stop share now. Am I back on screen? I can't even see it from my screen.
Yes, you are. You're back on, Tayria.
Why am I sharing all this? I just want to say that we have to have a concept for it. As David Bohm, the physicist, says, you can't hear or see something you don't have a concept for. So what I am trying to, get into conversation with us all about is to get the concept for this. We can hear it and we can say it, see it if we have a concept for it, but the brain doesn't know how to process what it doesn't have a concept for. So let's get a concept for all this. How we get back to our origins and just break this spell of denial that we've been in so that we can keep building the modern industrial world. And get out of just the stupor of forgetting. And I'm just going to read this one paragraph from my dissertation. This personal psychological work is, to me, where true social activism begins. It is insane to believe that we can solve the world's tragic outer problems before we solve them in ourselves. As Owen Barfield states, I am certain that our responsibility to the evolution of consciousness will only be discharged, if at all, not by tinkering with the outside of the world, but by changing it slowly enough, no doubt, from inside. And Lawrence Vanderpost says this in discussing the cultural problems of the West. He states that the real journey we have to make is to turn to our undiscovered within and realize that the problem is in our own nature. And there is where it will be handled, because otherwise the whole external world suffers. And Carl Jung said, the world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. The only thing that's destroying this world that we're living in is the psyche of man. We created the atom bomb. Nature didn't create that. And Buckminster Fuller says, we are called to be architects of the future, not its victims. That's what I have to share for today.
Wow, thank you so much, dear Tayria. Thank you for all that you are bringing forward here. It's so powerful to hear. And that quote, could you say that again? The thin thread quote.
The world hangs on a thin thread, and that is the psyche of man. And somebody asked him if he thought we were going to make it, humans are going to survive. And he said, if enough people do their inner work. Mm-hmm. So this is part of our inner work, to reclaim who we are, our origins and consciousness, the vast sort of sensibility of all that we're sharing here on this earth, and the creativity, reclaim the creativity of who we are. We can do this. We're so creative. We're so resourceful. We can do this. We totally can, if we get a concept for it.
Yeah.
Understand the value of it.
That's what we're here to do now. And I know everybody here in this community feels that so strongly, and by shifting our own consciousness, we shift the consciousness of the whole. So thank you, Tayria, for all that you brought forward here today. And I will mention, people are very interested in that bibliography that you mentioned. So we'll get that out to everybody.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to get that out with the recording.
It's a start. Yeah.
But we want to announce to everybody listening that Tayria is not only doing this presentation today, she's going to be actually leading a 5-week course where you can really dive deeply into these themes that she's been presenting here today. So let me share that opportunity with you, and I will put this up on the screen. And I will also give all of you this link, the link to come and check it out, at your own pace as well. Those who are on live, if you're watching this later as a recording, just scroll down in the description field. You'll be watching it on YouTube. We'll put it up on YouTube later. If you look in the description field, you'll see the direct link to this program. So it's called We Keep Our Eyes on the Night, Reviving the Indigenous Mind. And Tayria will be teaching this over 5 class sessions throughout July, the rest of July and August, starting on July 24th. So Tayria, I'm just so excited for you to be bringing all this to everybody and really help us in our journey of shifting our consciousness into this indigenous way of being. And I know you've done a talk before that was called Don't Think, right? So it's like even it's not even the indigenous way of thinking as much, right, as the indigenous way of living and being and perceiving that you're inviting us into here. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. The don't think is when we can get back to these origins. We got to, it's the nature of thought, as Bohm says, that's the problem, you know. So thought can help, but we have to unravel that. We have to understand that.
So everyone, you're welcome to come here and check out the powerful information here on this page that will tell you more about the course. I'll share just a little bit of it with you here, and you can check out more at your own pace. But this is just so powerful, you know, this question that Tayria asked. And maybe you should tell the story here, Tayria, and maybe you already did earlier in the call.
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
didn't talk anything about my trips to Africa. So we had just been to the Maasai village, and they live in little mud huts. And not this guy, but one that you'll see later in this was our guide, and he came back to the hotel where we were staying after we visited the village, and he answered questions. And one of the sweet little ladies that was there said, "Well, what do you do when you're in your huts at night? Do you watch TV?" And there is nothing even remotely like plumbing or electricity or anything there of the modern world. And I don't think the Maasai care about it. You know, I don't think they're interested or to join us in this. You know, I think they probably know it's insane. Anyway, I'm grateful for it. Please hear me, God. Thank you for the computer that's causing us. But anyway, but the man, he looked kind of sweetly respectful of her question, like, and he said, "No." And then he did this: "We keep our eyes on the night." And that saying has become, it stayed with me. It's like, what is it like to keep your consciousness on the night and stay in that? No, we don't distract ourselves with these things. So that's
Yeah,
why I call this "We
that's
Keep
so
Our Eyes on the
powerful.
Night." That's why I wanted to title the course that.
Yes. So this is the space that Tayria is inviting everyone into here, right? This quality of mind and attention that has been lost to us, but it's still right here. We can reclaim it. So this is a 5-week course that will offer an exploration of our original terrains of mind. And yeah, so important to remember that we've lived this way, in this indigenous way, for the vast majority of human history. It's so recent that we've been repotted, as you said, we've been taken out of this.
Right.
So we are here now and we're ready to do this. And so you can read more about Tayria and her beautiful work and beautiful comments from some of her clients here. What I really want to take you to is the curriculum. And thank you, Tayria, for these beautiful
That's
photos.
the guy who said "We keep our eyes on the night," just so you know. That was the one I quoted.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for sharing, taking us there with you.
Also, all these pictures in here are not stock photos. They're all pictures that I've taken on the mountain or in Africa.
Amazing. So module 1, and this will be starting very soon, July 24th. The psyche is archaic. What is the indigenous mind? And Tayria, would you want to say a few words? I'll introduce the modules, but would you want to say a few words about each one?
Sure. I mean, Jung says that every man is archaic in his psyche. You know, the psyche is archaic, and that we've forgotten that. Let me see. I had a couple quotes. Every civilized human being, however high his conscious development, is still an archaic man at the deeper levels of his psyche. And he always talked about going to sleep at night and consulting the 2 million-year-old person inside of us. That's who we need to be consulting with. You know, so anyway, I can't wait to explore. I wrote a dissertation on this called Reawakening Indigenous Sensibilities in the Western Psyche, and I've been teaching it ever since. And I lived those 9 years on the mountain. I have so much to share with you about this, so I can't wait. So
Beautiful. And I love this, become increasingly aware of the great conversation that is already taking place, to re-enter that conversation, which we have always previously been a part of with all the other beings. And then, so module 2 is on July 31st, and it's called Dreams, Dream Time, and Dream Thinking. And Tayria is such an expert in this and has so much experience in these topics. So this will be so beautiful. Is there anything that you want to say about this module with Dream Time?
well, as most people who know me at all know, that dreams are, so important to me. I've lived my life by them. I've been writing them down for 50 years, and I live by them. And they're my biggest teachers, and everybody's, and in the archaic, earlier human history, they were so important. The dream said what to do, and then you understood it and did it. We've lost that language. We've completely lost the language. We don't even know what it is anymore. So it's about reclaiming that and understanding what it's there for, and how to regain the language, but also to enter the dimension of consciousness that the dreams. It is the dream time. The Aboriginals talk about Western people are insane because we don't know that we only dream at night. They dream all day long. They're in the dreaming all day long. And it's a dimension of who we are at all times. We've just sort of shut down the program, but it's here in the hard drive. We just got to boot it up again. So we can talk all about that, work with our dreams.
Yes, amazing. And then module 3, the Black Sun. So death and resurrection. So would you like to say a few words about that, Tayria?
Yeah, as the shamans say, you have to die before you die, so that when you die, you don't die. And probably everyone here knows that that death is hard, but we die while we're alive. And that's important because we die to old ways of thinking, old identities, old structures of mind that don't serve us anymore, old relationships that don't serve us anymore. And all of this came out of, a massive Black Sun experience for me, where everything I thought I knew about self and life and God and everything else was shattered in an instant. And I can tell that story, but it's like how to survive these things and recognize the creative aspect of them. The chaos of them is what's creating the new world.
Yes. Yes, so powerful. And especially for these times, we're living in such a time of death and rebirth of so many old structures around us in the collective, in our own lives. So to learn how to do this in the indigenous way, in the shamanic way, is so important and powerful.
Good point, Jocelyn. We're all in the death spasm right now, the whole world right now. We just we gotta wake up, or the political and environmental situation is going to take us over.
We can find our way.
We have to, and we will. We're doing it.
And then module 4, finding your song lines, following your dreaming tracks.
Yeah, talking about the Aboriginal people and how the ancestors have these dreaming tracks, and there are stories that they have all across the landscapes, and they go across the landscapes, which are, what you do in your leading tours in Egypt, Jocelyn, going to the dreaming tracks of the ancients there, and the Aboriginals did it. But we have personally our own dreaming tracks. And, once something lights up, then I realize, oh, when I was 12, I had that experience and this experience and that experience and this dream and that dream. And it lights up the whole history of that. And as we sort of start to get the constellation of these stories of our own song lines, our own dreaming tracks, then we understand who we are in a different way, uniquely who we are. How these dream tracks are showing up in our lives and our psyche and the education that's been with us all along that we're just trying to make conscious.
And this is like our own map. We each have our own map. We're each
Exactly.
getting the instructions individually. And
Right.
it's powerful once we tap into that. Okay, and then module 5. And I just want to answer a question that was in the chat about what time the class is. So these classes will be at the same time as this live call is happening. They'll be on Wednesdays from 12 noon to about 2 p.m. New York time, starting at 12 noon New York time every Wednesday of the dates that you see here. So module 5, reinventing the human, a new cosmology.
Oh,
And
right.
like to
Okay.
say anything about that, Tayria?
Yes. Yes. It's like how this is going to be all of us musing together, but about how to live in the space between heartbeats, like that beautiful dream that I shared. It's like, how do we live day to day, sort of awakening and transforming our psychology and our whole cosmology? And what does it mean to us? And learn how to vision quest as a way of life. And what does it mean to be human? You know, it's like we've just got this idea that that humans are the apex of creation. It's so false. We're the, you know, we're the bad kids, you know, everybody else is getting along fine basically without us, you know. So how do we claim, you know, what do we do to be a part of this community of life? And know that a new earth is being born in its time. And we're coming out of the Kali Yuga, the era of forgetting, and we're coming into a new consciousness. And how do we support and encourage that development in our personal and collective life? And I'll talk about the starry stuff too here, you know, maybe more in terms of the cosmology, because where we came is from the stars. And what does that mean? You know, what does that mean to us now here, you know, as we're just paying our bills and feeding our families and making life work? What does that mean?
Yes.
So,
Wow. What an amazing journey you're going to be taking us on, Taria. Oh, I love this quote from that you have here from Wangari Maathai. Would you like to tell about that? That's so powerful.
yeah, when I went to Africa, one of the first time I went was on a journey with Wangari Maathai. She's a Nobel Peace Prize winner. She started the Green Belt movement, got women involved in Africa planting trees because the modern industrial thing was moving in and tearing down forests. So she got the women involved in replanting trees. She was so amazing. She had her doctorate. She taught at the university there. But she said to us that these are words that I took down when just being in her presence. She said, our civilization has gotten on the wrong bus and we're headed in the wrong direction. And what do you do when you get on the wrong bus? You get off the bus. It's like, let's take this time together and get off the bus. It's just like,
Yeah.
get off it. You know, it's like, you don't just keep riding it in the wrong direction. And that's what we're doing. It's like, here we are on the bus. Let's just stay comfy and not get off. Nope.
Very sound and well-grounded wisdom. Just get off the bus.
Get off the bus. And what does that look like? Now what? You know,
And
so what are we going to
yes, right. And how do we do that, right?
do? Right.
Wow. So I want to mention to everybody who's listening, and I want to say hi to Ami and Kathleen, who are our amazing multi-galactic course managers who are here on the call with us live. Thank you, Ami and Kathleen, for being live with us. And Ami and Kathleen have done so much beautiful work to bring all these beautiful pictures together and the wording and the quotes that Tayria submitted and to create this beautiful page. So I want to say thank you, Ami and Kathleen, so much. And thank you, Kathleen, for introducing everything today. That was a surprise. So thank you for jumping right in and doing the introduction at the beginning of the call. And Kathleen will be your multi-galactic course manager. So she will be on live with these calls with you. For those of you who decide to join the class, you will be on not only with Tayria, but also with Kathleen, and Kathleen will make sure that everything is going beautifully and smoothly and everybody's having a beautiful experience. So thank you, Kathleen, for being the course manager here for this beautiful experience. So we have a little bit more wording you can come and check out, but I want to really let everybody know the investment for the course. And so we always ask the teacher, you know, to share with us, how much is this really worth? Right. And so this course, and I think it's worth even more than this, $555. There's so much, I mean, so many years and decades of Tayria's experience and travels and training and living alone on the mountain for 9 years that is infused into all of this. Right. So this is really, it's beyond value what you will receive here. Okay. But if we had to put a number on it, you know, $555 would be the regular price for this course. But we are just very excited in the Global School for Quantum Evolution to create everything here on a basis of sacred economics. And so we are offering this program on a donation basis. We want this course and all of our courses to be accessible to as many people all around the world as possible. And so if you would like to join, come here and register by donation. You would just click this button on the page, and I'll put this link in the chat once again, so you can easily find the link to come and check out the details, and click here to register. And registration will close at the end of the day on July 18th. So be sure to register by that time, by the end of the day on July 18th. And so we can go to questions now. And I think, Tayria, were you going to lead us in a shamanic journey as well before we close for today?
Yes, I mean, I just want to make sure I'm staying within the time schedule that you have in mind, Jocelyn. So I had intended to do that, but geez, you know, there's just so much to talk about. So we could do that in the course, or we could do that today. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we could do Q&A, and I don't know how long the journey would take, but if we could conclude by 1:30 Eastern time, so that's about 20 minutes from now, that would be great. So if you think the journey will take us much longer than that, then maybe save it for the course. But if you think it could be done in that time, we could do it today.
Okay, well, let's see how the Q&A goes. We have 20 minutes. Let's see how the Q&A goes. If not, y'all get out your drumming and your drumming tapes. A lot of us, you know, have those, and make an intention to go back to that place that I was able to visit. See what happens. Your psyche's going to take you where your psyche's going to take you. But the journey can be back to the place on what Earth was before organic life was here, starting to get really back to the origins of our creativity. So this is a journey that you can do in your own quiet moments. So you can find easily on YouTube a good 15-minute drumming tape, and take yourself back there. See what happens. See where you go. See what you learn, what you hear, who you are. So
beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we're here for your questions, everybody. If you have questions about what Tayria has shared here today in her presentation, if you have questions about the course, we are happy to answer them. And Judith says, can we forego the questions and do the journey? Let's get off the bus now. Thank you, Judith, for
I'm wide open to that.
your stance on that. That's very helpful.
Yeah, let's get off the bus.
Let's get off the bus. Yes. Yeah, I think people really want the journey.
Okay.
So let's just see if anybody has questions. We'll just take questions for a minute or two, and then we I think you're really getting a high demand for the journey, Tayria. So.
Okay. All right. That's really fun.
So, yes, to answer a few of the questions in the chat, all the classes will be recorded. So if you can't attend all of them live, or can't attend even any of them live, you can definitely watch the recordings. We'll make the recordings available always within about 48 hours or less, after each class is complete. And there's no time frame. You don't have to watch them all within the next month or something. There's no limitation. You'll be able to watch them for years and years to come. So there's no time that recordings will be taken down. So once you join, you have access to all of this, lifetime access. Let's see what other questions are here. Let's see. And as far as this session today, Tanya said she needs to leave. So yes, we're recording this full session and we will send it out by email. So if you want to do the journey later when you have time, that's fine too. Absolutely. And many people saying, so generous. This is fantastic. This is amazing. So Tayria, everybody is loving what you're sharing here. And Teresa says, this is amazing. Everything you do, Tayria, is such a powerful experience. Love it. Thank you. So true. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Let's see. Any other questions? Tayria, do you still do retreats?
Only by request, since I don't have my retreat center. Occasionally somebody asks me to come to their place and lead a retreat for anywhere between 1 and 4 days. So if you have a group and a place, I can come there. I have done vision quests up on the mountain, rented to myself when people have requested a vision quest. So at this point, I don't do regular retreats anymore. I wish I miss it so much. And that's the main reason that I am really sad to just live in this tiny little house, and because my house on the mountain could host those really well. And I'm really sorry not to be doing those regularly, but maybe that'll come. Maybe something will show up that I have a space for that. But invite me if you have like a group of friends and you have a place. I'll come. We can do it.
Amazing. Let's see. Somebody's asking, were you ever scared living outside on your own?
You know, it's the funniest thing. Humans scare me. Nature doesn't. So the answer is no. I was never scared. And when I did vision quests, I did 10-day vision quests, 2 of them. I was only scared if a human were going to come over the hill there, but not anything that in nature. I really wasn't, so no, the answer is no. I wasn't scared. I felt so protected. I felt so, everything was so caring and loving. So, yeah. And I can tell more when I talk about it. I can tell more how I think I got to the place where the fear of it didn't, there's stories there. And in the course, I can tell more about how that happened, that I didn't have the fear.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's
even,
like deep trust.
Yeah, and even massive bears would come up right outside the screen and kind of, like, who's in there? If I'd had a sandwich, I might have been in danger. So I knew not to take food out there, but the bear wasn't going to hurt me. No way. So nothing I encountered scared me, honestly. Nothing.
And Annie says, I'm all signed up and cannot wait to go on this journey with you, Tayria. Welcome, Annie. We're so glad to have you joining us for this class.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, that's so sweet. Annie, great.
That's
Yay.
beautiful.
It's beautiful. It makes me cry.
Well, should we go to the journey? We have about 15 minutes. Would that work?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Now,
Okay.
I don't have a drumming tape, but I think we can just go into our silent place. So let's take a couple of minutes. Somebody asked where I'm located. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes and just make yourself really comfortable. If you need to light a candle or get a blanket or lie down. Let's take some deep breaths. Breathing in. Breathing out. Letting go of all tension. Breathing in. Letting go of all thought. Breathing in. Getting off the bus. And take a moment now to tune in to the very cells, your DNA, going back to the very blueprints. What created us, how we are patterned, how we are coded. Know that every cell in your body has this information and wants to light it up for you. Listen to the birds, the wind. Put yourself in touch with the very center of the earth. Put your roots deep, 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 deep into time and the earth. Go into the spaces between the heartbeats. Where you know we exist in this starry cosmos, on this beautiful little jewel of earth, in the vast space. We're moving now through space, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour. Our galaxy is moving. Our Earth is moving 66,000 miles an hour around the sun. Right now we're traveling. Our beautiful lives, and all of its concerns are there waiting for us when we get back. But for now, let it all go. Welcome the 2 million-year-old person inside of you to be with you now. Know that that person is you. It's so much more ancient than that, even. Commit to identify more fully with that aspect of your being, to listen to the space between heartbeats. Now let us take our consciousness back. 5,000 years, 10,000 years, before time. When this amazing globe that we live on was just created and teeming with life and intelligence and vitality. Feel your starry origins. We beamed here from a star. We came here on purpose. What is that purpose? Deep inside, we know this. We know what it is. Let's recover it, reclaim it. Stay in the silence now for 20 minutes. Okay, so bring your consciousness back into your body. Move our hands and toes. Take deep breaths to bring ourselves back where we are. Softly, softly, softly. Make a commitment to stay with that consciousness that we just connected to, and ask it to guide us as we go. Aho.
Thank you so much, dear Tayria. So beautiful to visit that ancient, ancient place of creation. So thank you, and I invite everybody to just stay in that space as long as you would like to. And so we will leave you with that, everyone. And thank you again, dear Tayria.
You're welcome. And let me just end with a quote from one of my favorite philosophers.
Yeah.
His name is Stokely Mackendorfer. He's my 8-year-old grandson. And this was when he was about 4. I was reading to him a book about before there was life on Earth. And he was like 4. And I know this kid is a starry being. He's so amazing. And he got so upset. He said, before there was life on Earth, and he started like putting his finger on the book. There's no such thing as before there was life on Earth. The Earth is alive. The nature of a planet is that it's alive. He
Wow.
was so upset with the people who wrote that book. It's like, that is a wrong concept. Don't be telling me this stuff. He was 4.
That's incredible.
So it's to know that we are on this living being. And he knew it. He knows it. He's in touch with that consciousness, clearly. It hasn't been trained out of him yet. He's not repotted completely yet. So that's who we are.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, Stokely. He's connected. He's
Yeah,
connected to the higher wisdom. That's just
yeah,
amazing.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the love here. I feel it. I felt it all through the journey. I think this unconditional love is who we are and what we will share, and I love you all. I really feel the love, and I hope you feel my love. And I hope to be in touch in the future, whether you take the course or not. I just am so grateful for your presence to all of this. That's so meaningful. And so needed. And I know we all have a lot we'll bring to the course too. So.
Yes. So I just put that link in the chat here one more time for those live on Zoom with us. And again, if you're watching this later, just scroll down to the description field below the video and you'll see that link to learn more about the course and join by donation. And we have people joining already, bunch of people joining already. So very exciting. And we hope that those who feel that call will come on in and join us and be part of this amazing, amazing visionary group that will come together around this course that Tayria is
so
offering.
excited about it. I'm so excited. And Teresa was there for the Ancient Wisdoms course that we did in 2015. She's going to be there. So it'll be nice to see you there, Teresa, and share that space with you.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Yeah, thank you all for all the love in the chat and all the love that you're sending through. We really do feel that. And thank you again, Ami and Kathleen, for being on live with us today and for all the work that you do behind the scenes to bring these amazing courses out to the world. Thank you both so, so much. You are working magic with all that you do.
Thank you, Jocelyn and Ami and Kathleen, for the School of Quantum Evolution. I just feel like you're doing it. You're making it happen. You're helping us all to shake ourselves awake, and we're doing it. And it takes what you're doing. And I couldn't be more grateful or respectful of what you're doing.
Thank you, Tayria. Thank you for all that you're bringing forward here. This is an amazing course. I just can't wait for you to share it. Thank you for this beautiful introduction to it today. And I'm so excited for all the people that will join and get to share these amazing 5 weeks of adventure with you. Yeah. Wow.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you everybody for being on live with us. And thank you to those watching this later as a recording. We are sending so much love to you. And yeah, many blessings. Have a beautiful rest of your day and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
Hey, everyone.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.